right now is the time to truly evaluate what's holding you back. What are you afraid of? If you're sitting in your house and you haven't left in months, or you're not doing the things you normally would do because you're scared, okay, that's fine. We've all been there. But the question I ask is, what are you doing to get ahead so that when you come out, you're 10 times further than you were? What are we afraid of? What particularly are we afraid of? You know, I found myself asking this question. I was driving the other day and I was talking to friends, and I have so many different friends who are looking at this current environment in so many different ways. Some are locked up and they're not leaving their homes. They haven't left their homes in forever. And they're not even living. They're petrified of everything. And they've gotten into this loop of just not living. And I asked one of my buddies, I asked the question, I said, what are you afraid of? Are we afraid of dying? Are we afraid of leaving something behind? Are we afraid of not telling people what we meant to tell them? Are there loved ones we aren't sharing love with? Are we not giving the love we know we have in our hearts? What are we not doing that's making us so afraid to die? Or more importantly, to live? Because in times where you're faced with life and death, or you think you're faced with life and death, how you're living becomes the more important question, not how you're going to die. And when I don't know why this is such a important topic in my brain right now, but it's something that I've just been thinking about, because when you live a great life, when you've lived a full life, when you've done things the way you believe in, when you've loved someone the way you're supposed to love them, when you've taught your children the way you want to teach them, when you do the things that are most important to you, you're living. When you're sitting in your bedroom and you're watching TV and you're not living to your maximum purpose and you're not doing something that you know you could be providing the world, I've always found a struggle with that. I've found a struggle. Now, we all have felt that way before. We've all been there. We've all been in a position where we've been so nervous about something. Maybe you don't ride roller coasters because it scares you, right? Maybe you don't like to drive at night. Maybe you don't like to drive in the rain. Maybe you don't like to fly. Whatever it is, the key component is if not flying means you never see your parents, that's a tough decision. Is that living? What are we afraid of? You know, you have to kind of look at the big picture and identify, what exactly am I doing to protect the very thing that I'm not doing in the moment? So if I'm worried so much about dying or not doing something, I'm not living at all. It's not living to not see people. It's not living to not connect. It's not living to not pick up the phone or to Zoom or to be a part of someone's life or to tell someone you love them if you love them. It's not living. And I'm just simply sharing with you something that I've been thinking about in a loop for a long time. And maybe it's part of crossing the over 40, a couple years ago and just starting to evaluate my life, knowing that life expectancy is only so much, and that for a good many people, we've crossed over into the second half, the second chapter of our lives. It makes you think a little differently. As you watch your children grow up, and they look totally different, they sound totally different, they feel different, they love you different, you start to think in a little bit more of a wider scope. There's a reason why so many people in their 20s and 30s are so focused on getting out, getting ahead, doing these things, and then they get to their 40s and it's either this clear vision or they're still figuring out, and it's okay. There's no rule book. Some of us take a lot longer. I took a lot longer. But in the end of the day, what are we living for? Are we doing it now? If you died tomorrow, are you living the life you've always wanted to live? If tomorrow was your last day, what are you doing? If it's a perfect day, a perfect, successful, wonderful day, what exactly do you do? Who are you with? Where are you spending your time? How are you spending your time? Like, these are the things that when you go into planning for your business, for your life, for your family, I think those are the things you want to evaluate. What are you protecting against? What are you scared of? What's holding you back from succeeding at the very thing you know you were meant to do? These are all the questions that I think all of us should ask ourselves on an everyday basis. I can tell you right now, there isn't any way that every single day I live the way I want to live. It's just not. I wish it was. There are many days I go home and I'm like, wow, where did the time go? I spent all day doing X and I wanted to do Y. We drove into a town the other day and we pull in, there's a cool record store and a really cool coffee shop. And I looked at my business partner and I said, remember when we used to have time to go into the record store and to go into the coffee shop? And instead we were rushing to go to do something else. It makes you think, are we taking the time we need? I'm just as guilty as everybody else. This isn't me judging, this is me sharing. And these are real questions that I think we should all be asking ourselves, but right now more than ever. Right now is the time to truly evaluate what's holding you back. What are you afraid of? If you're sitting in your house and you haven't left in months, or you're not doing the things you normally would do because you're scared, okay, that's fine. We've all been there. But the question I ask is, what are you doing to get ahead? So that when you come out, you're 10 times further than you were. What are we doing? Are we creating goals? Are we afraid of the health we might have if we actually did the things we told everyone we were going to do every year? If only I did this, I'd look like this, I'd feel like this. Like, what are we afraid of? What are we actually afraid of? Success? In business, same thing. You know how many times I've sat with a mentee, someone I'm mentoring, and told them all the very things that I knew back when I was sitting in their seat that I wasn't doing? That I'm thinking about as I'm telling them those things and then reminding them that I failed at the very same things because I waited too long to do the things. I love this, Nike's tagline is just do it. I say this 100 times in my office in a week. It's not just try it. It's not just start it, it's do it. And doing it means you are actively pursuing the goal. You're living your best life. You're living life with freedom. It's our tagline, living life with freedom. What does that mean to you? Are you doing it? Do you have the freedom that you need? What's holding you back? So it's just a thought-provoking question that I thought I'd share and I'd talk through. And some of you will watch this and be like, oh, it's too philosophical. I don't know. I don't want to think about this. I just do, right? Great. That's you. Some of you will watch this and you are not living. You are not living your best life. You are not loving the way you're supposed to. You are not loving the very people that made you who you are today. You're not thanking them. You're not showing gratitude. I've been there. I've done that. But when we actually dive into these questions and we learn from it, we get better every year. Like a fine wine, you'll get better every year. You just got to make sure you're drinking a little bit of that wine along the way. Enjoy. Don't just work for the end. Work so that today, if it ended all, it was worth it. All of it. Everything to this point was worth it. I'm Scott Danner. A little bit of philosophy today. I don't have the answers. I'm sharing. I'm learning. What do you think? What's your perfect day look like? Tell me. Comment below. How are you ranking yourself? If you rated yourself on 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself? I don't know. I'd probably rate myself a 7, 6.5, if I'm being honest. So just putting you, I think I'm doing better than I used to, but I don't think I'm perfect. I don't think I'm anywhere near that. So enjoy. Let me know what you think. Share your comments. If this video made you think about something, share it below. Tell me what it made you think about. Tell me if you've been thinking about this very question. Are you living your best life? Are you living life with freedom? I'm Scott Danner. Thanks for joining me.